Good morning, Wabash. This morning, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Michelle Pittard. Dr. Pittard is the Byron K. Trippett Assistant Professor of Education and is also the Acting Director of the Teacher Education Department. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Pittard in her chapel talk, Our Most Powerful Learning Experiences and the Teachers Who Inspire Us.
I'm the kind of person who likes ceremony. I like the pageantry and the drama and the emotion of ceremonies. I like that ceremonies usually require a certain kind of formal behavior that is marked by a level of respect and is dignified. I appreciate the tradition and ritual of ceremonies, and I am glad we have such occasions in our culture to mark important events. Wabash has its share of rituals, traditions, and ceremonies. It's one of the many things I like about Wabash. I suppose even some of the events of Panhandle Week could be considered ceremonies. There's drama, there's pageantry, there's emotion. Yet I'm not so sure the behavior at a beer pong and flippy cup tournament could be described as formal and dignified, but I've not been to one, so. Nonetheless, this is the season of ceremony with graduation approaching. Mostly, I like that ceremonies require us to pause and reflect. Really, almost no matter what kind of ceremony it is, a funeral, a wedding, initiation, graduation, we are obliged to pause and reflect, and I believe pausing and reflecting are good for us. In fact, students in the teacher ed program have accused me of asking them to reflect on their reflections. I don't see the problem. Whether we come together to celebrate or to mourn, ceremonies signify that something special has happened or is about to happen, and that it should be remembered and documented in a formal way. Chapel talks are one kind of ceremony. And I'm honored that the Sphinx Club invited me to speak today. Thank you, gentlemen. It's given me an opportunity to pause and reflect about a topic for which I have much passion, teaching. And this being my first chapel talk has caused me to be a little bit nervous. So I want to thank Tom Runge, because last week, when he was starting his talk, he said that he was honored to be sandwiched between David Blix and me, and that he felt like it was a baseball game and he was the seventh inning stretch, and David and I were the real game. I'm pretty sure that was a compliment. And I'm also a firm believer that baseball analogies can be used for almost anything in life, and I don't think I've ever been the subject of a baseball analogy, so that's pretty cool too. And then Tom said something that nobody else probably picked up on but me. He said that it was a little intimidating to have his talk fall between Blix's and mine. So I know how hard it is to intimidate a Wabash man. So now I'm feeling pretty good about this talk and a little less nervous maybe. But mostly and more seriously, I want to thank Tom for setting a perfect context for continuity between his talk about learning and my talk about teaching and teachers. And I hope he's here because he's getting a lot of credit today, but we'll let him know. As I said, the focus of the talk is teaching and teachers. So the first thing I'm going to do is teach you about the Pittard principles, and then give you the task of employing those principles in your own lives. One of the things I was nervous about today was that I was going to be lecturing, and those of you who've had me in class know that that's not really my strong point. You've heard passionate, get on my soapbox rantings about what's wrong with public education, but lecturing, not so much in my comfort zone. But I'm an advocate for stepping outside your comfort zone, and I'm a sucker for ceremony, so here I am. Okay, the Pittard principles. They were created by my husband and me when our children were very young. Actually, he came up with them from something that he'd read, and I gave them this official title for today's talk. But nonetheless, they are a set of rules established for our kids, hang on, sort of like a creed or rules to live by, if you will. And in no particular order, the principles are: number 1, pay attention. Number 2, do your best. And number 3, have fun. They're simple yet relevant to nearly every endeavor that we engage in, regardless of our age, disposition, gender, race, socioeconomic class, faith, or political view. They can work for everyone. I'll admit that the principles are so simple that they risk being cliche. And I should probably warn you now that for those of you that don't know me, I've been accused of being overly optimistic, sentimental, idealistic, and borderline cliche most of the time. But there are worse things to be accused of, and I'm pretty sure I've been called worse. Our kids are 13, 11, and 9. And even now, they roll their eyes when they hear us say them, even the two that aren't teenagers yet. But I like the simplicity of the rules, and I like their universal appeal. So think about them again for a minute. Pay attention, do your best, have fun. The potential they hold, if you sincerely try to live by them, is awe-inspiring. Principle number 1. Imagine what you could accomplish if you truly paid attention to the job you were doing, whether it be digging post holes or working through a chem lab or writing a C&T paper or going to morning workouts or rehearsing for an ensemble. Imagine the level and quality of work you could accomplish. Imagine how your relationships might be different if you really paid attention to the people you know. Imagine if you paid attention to what all your classmates say during a class discussion. What a discussion it would be. Imagine if you paid attention to your family and your friends, how your relationships might change. Imagine the experiences you could have. I'll warn you, paying attention takes time, it takes commitment, and it takes what Maxine Greene calls wide awakeness, and it's a lot easier said than done. Principle number 2, do your best. All right, this one must be a piece of cake for all of you. You're Wabash men. You don't have to imagine doing your best. After all, Wabash always fights, and doesn't that imply that you always do your best? Well, do you? Imagine if you did your best for real in all your endeavors, professionally, personally, academically, artistically, spiritually, socially. Can you imagine? What might happen if you truly put forth your best effort to understand and respect the perspective of someone who holds a very different worldview from you? Someone who's had different experiences, someone who doesn't agree with you. How might our campus community be different and enriched with such effort? How might the world be different with such effort? Principle number 3, have fun. I believe that if you can't find the humor in life, even in the most difficult times, then you're in for a very sad existence. I love to laugh, and my favorite laugh is the church laugh. You know, the one when you can't quit laughing, and in the most inappropriate times, it makes you laugh even harder. It becomes uncontrollable. It's exhilarating. Isn't it the greatest feeling? It's a known fact that laughter is a stress reliever, too. So is cursing and chewing gum, all of which I do frequently. Next to the church laugh, the best sound and feeling in the world is hearing the sound of your own children's laughter. It's true. Trust me. I've been around Wabash long enough now to know that students know how to have fun. Even without bed races and beer pong tournaments, laughing and joking are not in short supply on this campus. It's another thing I like about Wabash. But if you apply this principle to specific realms in your life, professional, personal, academic, what does it mean to have fun? I'm not suggesting you shouldn't be serious. Life is serious. To me, it simply means to find the joy in what you are doing no matter what. You must know people who find little joy in their jobs, who do not have joy in their personal lives, and who seem to exist in a fog of unhappiness. The principle, have fun, that language is appropriate for a child, but the implication on a deeper level is to find joy, to be happy. So to the seniors, as you plan past graduation to the next phase of your life, and to the underclassmen maybe still making decisions about majors and what to do after graduation, imagine the life you could have if you choose a path, both professionally and personally, that bring you joy. I'm talking about a stance here. It gets at the heart of what you believe in about how to live. And I believe you have the power and the ability to be happy in all aspects of your life if you so choose. Just imagine. I've had conversations with students in the teacher ed program about the relationship between fun and learning. There's research on it, and educators argue the topic vehemently. Usually the debate divides down the middle. There are some who believe it is possible, even preferable, to have fun while learning. Others argue that true learning only happens in the somewhat painful situations and really not very much fun. So think for a minute about your most powerful learning experience. If this were my class, I would pass out index cards right now, and you'd be required to write down information about your most powerful learning experience. Then I'd call on you and you'd share with your group, and we'd talk about as a whole group the common characteristics of our powerful learning experiences. But since this is chapel and I didn't bring index cards, we'll just stick with imagining this. But I'm serious about thinking and recalling your most powerful learning experience. Has one come to mind yet? Take a second and think about the most powerful learning experience you've had so far. I'll give you a hint. It likely is something that didn't happen inside the confines of a classroom. Do you have one in mind? Okay, how many of you are recalling pleasurable experiences characterized by having lots of fun? Can any of you honestly say that your most powerful learning experience was fun? Would you describe it that way? Probably not. Our most powerful learning experiences are not usually very much fun. So you may be asking yourself, where's she going? What's the transition? We were just talking about having fun and beer pong and flippy cups and finding joy in what we do, and the next thing you know, we're being asked to recall unpleasant memories that taught us valuable life lessons. What's the deal? Let me ask you something in response. As you recalled your most powerful learning experience, think about the people who were involved. Wasn't there another person? Either someone who supported you and helped you through the difficult situation, or someone who initiated or caused the situation, maybe even under very negative circumstances. Either way, I would bet money that as you recalled your most powerful learning experience, another person came to mind. You know who these people are? Teachers. I'm not talking about elementary, high school, or college teachers, although they may have been the people you recalled in your most powerful learning experience. I'm talking about the people who came immediately to mind as you thought about that most powerful learning experience in your life. These are the teachers who inspire us. My point is that regardless of their title or relationship to you, these individuals taught you something significant. This is the good stuff. This is the kind of teaching and learning that facilitates empowering growth, personally, socially, spiritually, professionally. This is the kind of teaching and learning that, God willing, you'll experience throughout your life. I've done this activity in a variety of settings many times, and each time I participate too, and I recall my own experiences. So I'll share some of those with you today. Getting married is usually one that comes to mind right offhand. The longer I'm married, the more lessons I learn about patience, and I've become more discerning about which battle is worth fighting. Here's a tip for future reference: most of them aren't worth fighting. Student teaching is another. The student teachers, Mr. Bogan, Mr. Lewis, Mr. Sheff, Mr. Kemp, Mr. Woods, Mr. Bax, Mr. Eakins, they all know what I'm talking about. They're in the middle of the most powerful learning experience right now. For me, becoming a mother is an ongoing, powerful learning experience. My husband, Jeff, and I are learning as we go, like most parents do. And most days, we think we should probably be saving for our kids' future therapy sessions than for their college, but who knows? My oldest brother's recovery from alcoholism and my other brother's lifelong battle with heart disease are two more. From them, I learned what it means to persevere. And I have seen the sheer power of the human will to heal the mind and the body. Teaching at Wabash is the most recent one. I'm convinced that I'm experiencing right now one of my most powerful learning experiences as a teacher, as a scholar, and as a human being. I'm surrounded by faculty and staff colleagues who make me smarter and wiser because they are smarter and wiser than I am. And you, Wabash students, teach me every day about work ethic, loyalty, and creativity. Students in the teacher education program in particular amaze me with their passion for teaching because, as I've told them before, with their Wabash degree, they could do absolutely anything, and they choose to teach high school. In addition to how I grew and what I continue to learn as a result of these experiences, the most endearing part of each of them is that they gave me inspiring teachers. My husband, my cooperating teacher, my own children, my parents, my brothers, my faculty colleagues, and you, Wabash students, have all been and continue to be my teachers. For Runge last week, he cited two important teachers, Vento, the bus driver, and if you didn't get to hear that story, you got to hear it from him, and Vic Powell, who helped prepare him for other powerful learning experiences throughout his life. Runge's message, as I understood it, was that as Wabash men, with your liberal arts education, every experience is the opportunity to be a deep and profound learning experience. My message today is that during those moments, those most powerful learning experiences that we've all had and no doubt will have in the future, is a teacher. Sometimes these teachers are not even aware of the impact they've had on us, yet they have taught us. They are the people who make sure we learn, the people who support us, help us survive, set an example for us. They are the ones who engaged us in the learning, to use the language of pedagogy. And these people, the teachers who inspire us, should be recognized and thanked. The other important take-home message today is that you can, in fact, you should be that teacher for someone else. Knowing what I do about Wabash men, I am confident that you will rise to the challenge of being teachers. Most likely, you already have. As important as those powerful moments are for you, the learner, it is just as important that you are willing to be the teacher for someone else. But you have to pay attention, and you have to do your best to deal with the mess, because deep and profound learning is messy. It's emotional, it's painful, it's a process that takes time and energy. You just recalled your most powerful learning experiences, so you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes we don't even like to think about them again, but we know these experiences have had significant impact on us. And the people involved in them, our teachers, are forever ingrained in our hearts and minds. As I see it, there are two positive outcomes. One is for you, the learner, and that is the benefit of growth and wisdom from these experiences. For you, the teacher, I dare say, the more challenging role, it is the joy of being part of the process and then knowing that you've helped another person. That's the reward, that's the fun. And I'm challenging you today to pay attention enough and be willing to put forth your best effort to be that person for someone else. When you do, you will experience joy. You may have figured out already that I'm not talking about the kind of learning, ironically enough, since I'm a teacher and I teach teachers, not the kind of learning that happens in the classroom. Usually, as I said, our most powerful learning experiences do not occur in that setting. This is not to say you don't learn in the classroom or that classroom learning is not valuable or meaningful, nor am I advocating truancy, of course. Because I believe classroom learning, especially at a place like Wabash, where we define classroom very broadly to include things like immersion trips, one-on-one meetings with professors, faculty dinners, extra and co-curricular activities, even chapel talks. All these, I believe, prepare us for our most powerful learning experiences, both as a learner and as the teacher. And I'm convinced that the liberal arts prepare us for our own experiences when they happen to us, and they prepare us and challenge us to be the teacher in someone else's powerful learning experience. Okay, this talk was framed with 3 simple rules. I hope you remember them. Pay attention, do your best, and have fun. Implicit in each of these simple rules is a doggedness that should not go unmentioned. At a conference I attended a few years ago, the speaker said that writing is donkey work. Think about that. And his point was that you have to do it every day. The thankless, sometimes futile habit of writing every day, you have to commit to the grind to get any better. I think, despite my natural proclivity toward idealism and optimism, that life is donkey work. The day in, day out business of living. Despite this claim of being idealistic, despite the corny, sentimental, even romantic views I have, I can also be described as down-to-earth and practical. I grew up in Park County, Indiana, for crying out loud, in a family of farmers and teachers, divorced parents and 2 older brothers and grandparents, and a whole host of aunts and uncles that have taught me more lessons about hard work than I have learned in all my advanced schooling. So I know about the dogged grind of daily life. I'm a teacher, so I know about preparation. Stephen Covey says there's no cramming for life. You think you can cram for tests. We've all done it. But life is different. There's no cramming for life. And guess what? Life doesn't happen after graduation. You've been living life. Mark Twain said that school is not preparation for life, it is life. The Center of Inquiry has identified lifelong learning as one of the 7 liberal arts outcomes. I think we're all familiar with the notion of lifelong learning, and I'm a big fan of it. But what about lifelong teaching? I challenge you, as Wabash men, to all be teachers. Find the teacher within you and reap the benefits of a fulfilling, joyful life, characterized by paying close attention, doing your best, and having fun. Thank you.